Okay, so he says, hey guys, I purchased an SEO shield from you guys and did some citation building along with a GMB and website. We just added a new location with a new verified GMB for the new location in a different city. Do I need to add to the current SEO shield or purchase one for the new location? Great question. Use the RYS expansion, right? So if you go to mgyb.co, go to the store, and you'll see the RYS expansion. That's what you want to use, because for multi-location businesses, there's a couple of different ways to do it. I'm going to tell you how I prefer, and then I would love to hear Marco's commentary about what he thinks. But the way that I do it is the SEO shield should be like, when you order an SEO shield, I always order an SEO power shield for a new project, for the brand itself, right? So that's going to establish the entity and the Google stack, the G site, all of that for the main brand itself. And then for every top level silo, right? So whatever silos your sites have. So again, for service area businesses, typically you're going to have silos for whatever your services are. And that's the type of businesses that I deal with. But there's also location. There can be location silos depending on how you structure your site. But for every one of whatever silos that it is that I'm doing, I always use an RYS expansion, because that becomes a subfolder of the primary Drive Stack branded folder, right? So again, we talk about this in Semantic Mastery all the time, theme mirroring, right? Theme mirroring was a term coined by Network Empire originally, but what that means is whatever the structure is of your primary website, you want to mirror that with your Drive Stack, your G site, and everything else that you do, right? We talk about that with blog posts, GMB posts, press releases, all of that. But just getting back to the Drive Stack itself. So for every topical silo or service-based silo, if it's a service area business, you're going to want an RYS expansion, right? And then also for every location, the same thing. So when you order, like if you have a multi-location business, then I have several that I work with. And so what I do is set up the brand, the original RYS stack for the brand. And to be honest, I don't even worry about an association with a single keyword on the front end anymore for multi-location businesses. I just set up the branded stack originally. And then I go in and set up or order additional RYS expansion stacks for every topical silo or location silo, or both. I do it for both. Let's be clear. So in other words, for service-based silos, which would be like, again, for tree services, I talk about tree removal, tree trimming. Those are the like two primary silos for a tree service business. So I have an RYS expansion, one targeting the tree removal keyword set and one targeting tree trimming keyword set. And then if I have multiple locations, so let's say I've got 5 locations, every location will have an additional RYS expansion stack targeted for that particular location. And when you place that order, it'll give you it gives you the opportunity to enter your NAP details, right? Name, address, and phone number. So location details for that. And that becomes a subfolder of the primary brand. That's the way that you want to do it. There's also the location shield. I think that's slightly different. I don't typically use that for multi-location businesses because that creates a separate G site for the location. And what we have, and again, I'm Marco's going to come up and give his input on this as well. But what I've learned from Marco and Rob is to use the primary branded asset, the G site and the RYS stack, as the main source, right? Like the primary source of power, and everything else that you build within that stack should be a subfolder, right? So essentially connected to that. So Marco, what do you say?
Looking through that, okay, so here's what we've always recommended. Your local is relative. So let's remember that. Because then once you're focusing on that, you're no longer focused on location. You no longer have one thing in mind when you're doing that, which is focusing on your city, so that you could then branch out to multi-location. Because what most people do is they automatically, like plumber in DC. That was a case study that we did. If you go and look, it's probably still number one in maps. But we had to push so much power to that that it became the entity for the keyword DC plumber and plumber in DC, right? So in order to avoid all that, and in order to be able to expand outside of the DC area, what we said is, well, wait a minute, if we do a better job of branding, and if we do a better job of entity validation, right, creation, validation, verification, and validation, then we should be able to just create a brand, whatever. And this is thinking about brands like Google and Yahoo and Sony and Samsung and whatever it is that you want to think about, the big companies, Amazon, where it started out as a bookstore and now it's like your neighborhood grocery store. You can go pick up anything in Amazon, and I mean anything. And so they did such a good job of branding that the Amazon is no longer a rainforest, and it's no longer a river. Amazon is a place where you go and buy shit. You buy good shit, right? Or you can go buy cheap Chinese shit if that's what you're, or cheap shit from all over the world. But think about that. So focusing on that and focusing on brand, focusing on entity, then it allows you to set up whatever name, XYZ, and you will probably use the part of the keyword because it just fits, especially in the home services niche. You use your tree pros, right, Bradley, in whatever it is that you do. But that just makes sense. DC plumber, we use the plumber. In the home services niche, think of Roto-Rooter. It's related to the niche, of course, but not necessarily. And they just do a really good job of branding. So that's what we have to look at when you focus on that. What you can do in that branded stack is create that brand plus keyword relationship, so that it leaves you free to create an inner stack, which then focuses on location. That's the location stack. Now you can request the location stack without an additional G site, where we just expand the existing branded stack. I mean, we're willing to accommodate you in many different ways. Or you can just order an expansion stack that's location and keyword driven, right? So if you're in DC and then you want to go into Alexandria, you come and ask us for Alexandria plumber, for example, if that's your focus, and everything that's related to plumber in Alexandria, whatever it is that we can find if we're doing the keyword research. So that's the way that we've been teaching you to do it. Then the next city becomes a target for that, but always within the same branded G site and drive stack, because we want to add power to that. You don't see Amazon and Google, well, you do sometimes, but what they first did is they accrued so much power in the root that now they're able to create something like their Google My Business website in something separate from them, but it's always linking to Google. So what we want is that relationship and that relevance within that G site and drive stack. And you should be doing the same thing with your money site if you have a TLD domain, right? A top whatever the top level. I'm sorry, I forget, but it's just the .com, the .net, the .org, right? If you have a TLD, it can even be a .club. We're ranking realty. We're ranking just all kinds of stuff. It doesn't have to be .com, .net, or .org anymore. At any rate, the point behind all this is that you focus all of your power in one place, and you keep adding power to that place. That's what we do with the additional drive stacks. With the extensions, we add pages to that can focus on a city, or that can focus on services and city, or city and services. It's how we do it. It's how I've been teaching it since we first started, which is what, now we're working on 6 years, man, that we've been doing this. But that's the way to do it. Focus all of your power within one ecosystem, the same way that Google does it, the same way or has done it, the same way that Amazon does it, and everybody else in the space. You don't see them going and building, as long as it's related, different websites for different things. Not if it's one parent company. Look at Apple and how they do it. Apple is a fantastic case study to look at on how they branded the hell out of their website and their company, how branding is all out there, and how they've set up their website so that they focus all of the power and all of the energy within one ecosystem, instead of having it go all helter-skelter all over the place. And then You have to work out your schema on how this all fits together, how you have one parent and all of these children who are separate websites yet part of the same brand. It becomes just mind-boggling how you have to do that, rather than if you just focus on this one thing, one drive stack, one G site, and you build power on that, and you keep building on it. You don't just stop, you keep building on it.
Yeah, simplify, right?
Yes.
Remove that addition, all that complexity from trying to add different web assets and all that. It's much better. That's so. Just to clarify, that's what I was getting back to was what I do with the branded stacks now. Like whenever I'm starting a new project, is I don't even, when I order the original SEO Power Shield, I don't like what I even put this in the instructions when I place the orders. I just want it branded. Like I'm not trying to create that keyword association with the original stack. In some projects that may be feasible, but in a lot of my projects, what I do is just now create the branded stack for the, like originally the G site and the drive stack are just optimized for the brand itself, because I'm going to build the site structure with all of the top level keywords as their own separate silos. So then I just go in and order RYS expansions for each top level silo or location. Because the way that I build location silos are, again, they're kind of the same thing. So that's what I'm getting at. What Marco was saying was it's about building that brand, right? Google rewards the brand, and you build the authority into the brand, and then you can build out the expansion stacks, which become subfolders and subpages essentially, or inner pages of the G site and subfolders of the drive stack. And so again, you mirror that same kind of structure that you have on your primary website within your entity assets. And that's really what works. It works incredibly well. So that's a really good question.